Good morning. It is Wednesday, the 4th of February. I'm Maeve McMahon, and this is Europe Today, your daily fix of European news and analysis, live here on Euronews. Coming up, more attacks in Ukraine. Russian strikes have been pounding the capital Kyiv and the country's second largest city, Kyiv, triggering deadly fires and further damaging energy infrastructure. While the US President Donald Trump insists talks to end the war are progressing, many Ukrainians are focused on survival as temperatures plunge to minus 20 degrees. All eyes today are on Abu Dhabi, where US brokered talks involving Ukrainian and Russian representatives are due to resume. For the latest, we're joined here in the studio by Euronews' Ukraine correspondent, Sasha Vakalina. Good morning, Sasha.
Morning.
So look, the Kremlin is targeting Ukrainian power plants just ahead of these talks, these alleged peace talks in Abu Dhabi. What should we expect today?
Well, there's not much hope, to be honest, because given the Russian stance and given their recent attacks, and there was one of the largest ones happened on the 3rd of February, in terms of how many ballistic missiles Moscow used to attack Ukraine, specifically civilian energy infrastructure, 32 ballistic missiles launched against Ukraine. This is the record number for this type of weapon. Zelensky already spoke, saying that Russia chooses terror and escalation rather than diplomacy, given that the attack happened 24 hours before those second round of talks in Abu Dhabi. He also said that the work of the Ukrainian negotiating team will be adjusted accordingly. Mark Rutte, Secretary General of NATO, was in Kyiv hours after that attack, and he also insisted on the fact that whatever happens, whatever deal or agreement is reached, it has to be long-lasting. Let's take a listen.
You rightly do not want another Budapest memorandum or a Minsk agreement. Some European allies have announced that they will deploy troops to Ukraine after a deal is reached. Troops on the ground, jets in the air, ships on the Black Sea. The United States will be the backstop. Others have vowed to support in other ways. The security guarantees are solid.
But all of that will only be available and possible if there is a deal, Maeve, and we are not there yet. Now, the Kremlin insisted again that to solve any critical issues like the territories, Zelensky would have to go to Moscow, to what Volodymyr Zelensky and his office said that in this case Putin could very well as well come to Kyiv to sort that out.
And what about President Macron? We saw him yesterday just saying he wants to reopen dialogue with the Kremlin. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's interesting because Macron did speak and he said that the discussions are underway at the technical level about restoring the dialogue. He also insisted once again that this is being done in transparency and consultation with Volodymyr Zelensky. That was very important for him to make it clear that he's not doing it behind Zelensky's back and behind Ukraine. Remember the principle of nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. Now let's take a listen to what President Macron had to say.
It is underway, with technical discussions currently in progress to support this. These efforts are being conducted in consultations with President Zelensky and our key European partners. It is important for Europeans to restore their own channels of communication. While such dialogue is useful, it does not appear that Russia is genuinely willing to negotiate for peace in the coming days or weeks.
President Macron is just taking all the chances and all the possibilities then. And mind you, in the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, Macron was among the very few European leaders who actually kept contact and kept those calls with Putin going for a few months. And Macron was heavily criticized for doing that. And then the two of them spoke for the first time after a long break in summer 2025 when Macron asked Putin to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. Well, we know by now that Putin did not agree on that and did not take it seriously.
Okay, Sasha Vakalina, thank you so much for all those updates. And of course, you can keep an eye on Euronews.com for Sasha's reporting later on those talks. But now, coming up, we'll be joined by Mihai Popșoi, the Moldovan politician serving as Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs since January 2024. A strong advocate of Moldova's European integration, the minister is in Brussels today on his first ever official visit since taking office. Deputy Prime Minister, welcome to Euronews. Welcome to Europe Today.
Good morning. My pleasure.
Great to have you with us. Look, it has been almost 4 years now since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. How are you protecting Moldova from this impact?
Well, the Republic of Moldova and its people have shown remarkable resilience in this past 4 years now. This is a testament to the unity and solidarity of our society, but also to the incredible support of the international community, first and foremost our friends and partners in the European Union. So this support has been put to good use to consolidate our defense, our cyber capabilities, our capacity to control the hybrid tactics that are being employed against us.
But when it comes to defence, you're not in NATO and you're a neutral country, so therefore does not have aspirations to join NATO. But does that not make you feel uncomfortable, isolated, scared?
Well, there is certainly a significant dose of anxiety for those that do not enjoy the NATO umbrella or any other major security guarantees, which is the case of the Republic of Moldova. We do have the constitutional constraints of neutrality, and ironically, the only country in the world that has been consistently violating Moldova's neutrality status has been the Russian Federation, which has kept troops and munitions against the express will of the Moldovan people and all Moldovan governments since the early 90s till now. And we are counting on the support of the international community to persuade the Kremlin to take the munitions and the troops out of the Republic of Moldova in order for us to be able to take stock of our sovereignty and to be able to truly develop and pursue the interests and the ambitions of our people.
And as you heard earlier from our correspondent Sasha Vakalina, big talks taking place today in Abu Dhabi, led by the US. Have you any faith or hope that these talks could potentially end this very long war?
We do have a lot of faith in Moldova, and we know for a fact that there is nobody that wants peace more than our Ukrainian friends.
But do you have faith in the Americans to lead these talks?
We do have faith in the Trump administration's genuine will and genuine commitment to peace. It's just a matter of Kremlin not being particularly constructive, as we can see with the latest horrific attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure. And it is incredibly cynical, the Kremlin not being able to compete on the front line. They are choosing to attack soft targets, civilian targets, women and children and elderly, trying to cripple the Ukrainian nation, which they have not been able to do, not just for the past 4 years, but frankly since 2014. Ukraine has resisted heroically. The international community has been helping meaningfully. And of course, it's high time for peace, but not just any peace, a lasting and sustainable and just peace.
And we've seen President Macron. He's calling to re-engage in dialogue with Vladimir Putin after 4 years. Would you support this idea?
Well, as a diplomat, it would be odd for me to be against dialogue. But in this particular instance, when the rockets are flying and children are dying and people are freezing every morning, I think a good basis for beginning of a dialogue would be for these sort of things to stop and to have a real meaningful discussion on peace. So that people can breathe with a sigh of relief.
So it's not the time to talk to Putin? Not yet?
Well, the discussions are happening anyway. They're happening in Abu Dhabi. They've been happening in other places. It's just a matter of those discussions bearing fruit. And as I mentioned earlier, there is nobody that wants peace more than Ukraine. That just simply cannot be questioned. It's just a matter of the degree to which the Kremlin is fully committed to this process. But we know for a fact that the Trump administration has a clear vision, and the European Union and member states, of course, are fully committed to this process as well, just like we are.
And what about Moldova? We've seen the President Maia Sandu call for potential unification with Romania. What's your view here?
Well, the Republic of Moldova, or the territory between the Prut and Dniester River, used to be part of Romania. Many Moldovans are Romanian citizens. So these discussions about union with Romania has been a constant part of our political debates. About a third of the population have constantly been in favor with small changes. So this is normal part of political debates in Moldova, if you will. But there is not enough support if you were to put it to a referendum today, much like the earlier discussion with NATO. And this sort of decision, of course, would need to be taken with a vast majority support of the citizens in a democratic society like Moldova is. So this is a normal part of political process in the Republic.
Fiery debate indeed back home in Moldova. But of course, you're in Brussels today and you're hoping one day to join the European Union. By when?
Well, we have set ourselves a date to finish negotiations by 2028. allow ourselves time to ratify the agreement. We have set this ambitious but yet realistic target in light of the progress that Moldova has been doing. And in fact, last year, Moldova has made the largest progress in terms of its accession process compared to any other candidate country. So we are making significant reforms back home. We are doing the heavy lifting.
But what about your pitch to people EU countries who perhaps are hesitant about EU enlargement?
Well, enlargement is indicating the credibility, the strength and the resilience of the European peace project. The fact that there are countries like Moldova and many others who see incredible value in the European project is a vindication of what a success European Union has been for since the end of the Second World War. It has been a testament of the unity and solidarity and cooperation and peace. And of course, we want to be part of this family.
OK, Deputy Prime Minister, thank you so much for coming in to us. We'll see you again. Best of luck for your busy day here.
Thank you.
In Brussels. Well, now it is time to get the latest from our EU News editor, Maria Tadeo, who's reporting for us this week from the World Government Summit over in Dubai.
Indeed, Maeve. Good morning from Dubai. And of course, the focus here is Iran. Is this region now heading into a full-on conflict between the United States and Tehran? Certainly in the context of the overnight escalation when an Iranian drone, quote, approached aggressively a U.S. aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea. At the same time, the U.S. is building its own military presence, which could be read and interpreted in two ways. This is either a show of force to really prevent an escalation, a show of force to show Tehran that the U.S. is serious about its capabilities that could be deployed against them, or actually this is really the start now of a military operation that could take place potentially in the next few days, even as talks between the U.S. and Iran are still expected to take place at the end of the week. For the Gulf and the UAE, that is a concern. Yesterday, we heard from one of the sharpest, diplomats in the region, Dr. Anwar Gargash. He was the man behind the Abraham Accords and the advisor to the Sheikh, and he told the World Government Summit a regional escalation can still be prevented. It will lead to instability, and Iran seriously now needs to engage in dialogue with the United States. Let's take a look.
I think that the region has gone through various calamitous confrontations. I don't think we need another one. But I would like to see direct Iranian-American negotiations leading to understandings that we don't have these issues every other day. Iran today needs to reach a deal. They need to rebuild their relationship with the United States. I think through reaching a deal, a political deal, a wider geostrategic deal that will actually be beneficial to the area. The Iranians are also helping themselves in ultimately what they need, which is rebuild their economy.
And that was Dr. Anwar Gargash, as I mentioned, one of the most influential diplomats in this region, in the Gulf. And there's this dual track at the moment in which, yes, there is this military pent-up escalation and build-up. But at the same time, as I mentioned, talks between the delegations of the United States and Iran are still expected at this hour to take place at the end of this week.
Maria Tadeo in Dubai there for us. And another big story, of course, coming out of that Dubai summit is Spain's Pedro Sanchez calling for a social media ban for under-16s. We will dive into that topic tonight on The Ring here on Euronews, so tune in for that. But now, with uncertainty gripping the world and tariff threats startling Europeans to the core, the EU and the UK are starting to eye each other up. And an EU-UK summit is set for this May. Our Jakob Janis takes a look at their relationship status 10 years after the Brexit vote.
They say you never forget your ex. And looking at the recent headlines, it seems the EU and the UK are thinking about getting back together, or at least becoming friends with benefits. But what benefits are we actually talking about? First, the done deal. Erasmus is back. Starting next year, British students can once again study at EU universities and vice versa. It's a massive U-turn. The UK government agreed to pay around 650 million euros a year to rejoin. Second, the stuck deal, defence. The plan was for the UK to join SAFE, the EU's 150 billion euro defence fund. But talks collapsed over the entry fee. The Brits found the price too high. So while Canada, which is an ocean away, successfully joined, the door remains open, but only if London pays up. Finally, the forbidden fruit, a customs union. And businesses wanted to cut red tape, and Brussels officially has an open mind about it. But for the British government, it looks like reversing Brexit. So despite the economic pressure, the political answer remains a firm no, sir. So where does that leave us? We are not seeing a full reunion. Instead, we are seeing a patchwork relationship. So they are friendly enough to have a dinner together, but strictly split the bill, and no sharing desserts.
Jakub Janis there for us. And just this week, in fact, the European Parliament President, Roberta Metsola, said it's time to overcome historic gripes and reset relations with London. Now, the Parliament, of course, has no formal say in this, but her remarks have been gaining attention. For more, we can bring in Euronews' correspondent, Shona Murray, who's actually followed the Brexit negotiations for years. Shona, so tell us, is the EU trying to bring the UK back into its fold?
Yeah, I was going to say it's back, but actually it's never went away, really, Maeve. Look, the mood music is very good. The relationship is the best it's been in the last 10 years. It's 10 years since Brexit. But I think objectively we can say that Brexit has not been good for the UK. It hasn't been good for the EU either. But in particular, the Brexiteers said that the advantage of Brexit would be that the UK could do this big trade deal with the United States. We know that probably won't materialise now. I think the British are really seeing what happened in Greenland. And we can see that the EU and the UK are moving in the same waters when it comes to new trade partners. Mercosur, India. Ursula von der Leyen might be going to Australia at the end of the month to resuscitate the Australian trade agreement. So we can see that they're sort of moving in the same direction. And we saw those overtures this week by, first of all, Pedro Sanchez, the Prime Minister of Spain, saying he misses the UK. That's a big deal because they had a hugely confrontational relationship over Gibraltar. And then Roberta Metsola, as you mentioned there, President of the European Parliament. Let's hear what she had to say.
Europe and the UK need a new way of working together on trade, customs, research, mobility, and on security and defence. And this is about looking forward and doing what makes sense for Europe and for the UK today. It is time to exorcise the ghosts of the past, reset our partnership, and find solutions together.
The ghosts of the past,
yes,
that we
no
spent
drama.
Many years reporting about. Shona Murray. And what should we look out for? Will there be any significant developments in the next couple of months?
I think we also have to limit our expectations here because from domestic purposes, it's very difficult Brexit. And as we heard from Jakub there, the Keir Starmer doesn't want to be seen to be reversing Brexit. So what we will see is probably a phytosanitary deal, remember those terms, where the UK agricultural industry, fisheries can export into the EU without regulatory checks, but they have to abide by EU's regulatory system. So that is a little bit controversial. We saw that the UK failed to access the EU's safe defence instrument. That was because the cost was too high, but the door remains open there. Where there is a discussion at the moment as to whether the UK defence industry can make a contribution and join the EU's €90 billion loan for Ukraine. So that could be part of a new sort of relationship. So there are overtures being made. There are better relationships, but I think it is quite limited now. Single market customs union re-engagement is really off the table for Keir Starmer, as much as many businesses would like to see it happen again. Maeve?
But what is, of course, on the table is that EU-UK summit that will be taking
That's
place.
right. Probably sometime in May. I mean, it was May last year, so they haven't confirmed the exact date, but it'll definitely be within the year.
We'll keep a very close eye on that, and Shona Murray, you'll report on it for us. Thank you so much for that update here. But that does bring this edition of Europe Today to a close. For more news and analysis, do visit Euronews.com. You can also download our app so you can stay up to speed, or follow us on any of our social media platforms. We love hearing from you, so do always reach out. Thank you so much again for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow morning bright and early with more news and context, so don't miss that. See you soon, though, on Euronews.